So let's discuss Bootstrap's Navbar component. So the Navbar is this right here, and as you see, we can click through it and go to different controls that I have set up. So this is the control right here for the Navbar, and it is set right here over our router outlet, which is actually controlling all of these routes. If we go back to the Navbar, we can see that it has this expand small. And what this does is when I go to a small screen, it'll have this little icon in here. And you can see that this is the button that it's using, a nav toggler. It's a type button, and it has class nav toggler icon, which is that. And we also need to have this small. We can change this to medium if we wanted to. So this would mean that it goes out a little farther. You can also change this to large. And it'll go out to the large setting. And so there's also extra large. And that'll go out even farther. So basically at all these different breakpoints, it's going to turn this on. So I'm going to keep this on small because on a small screen, as you see, you can still see, or just above the small screen, we can see everything. So that works for me. The nav bar dark and the background dark are needed to make this dark control here. And there's a couple different color sets you can look at in the nav bar setting for all the colors. And you can mix and match. There's not that many, or you can make your own custom colors if you like. So if I took the row off, we'll see we have this padding on the side. So I wanted to get that off because it don't look very good to me. So I added row. And at the start here, you can see this Navbar brand on the first link, and that's for the home. And we'll discuss some of this in a second. But here's the collapse bar. Let's say if you make it smaller. Let's go here. And we want to have a link of all these. We need to note this collapse, Navbar collapse, and the ID here, which will line up with the target here for the collapse button to expand. So this will expand. It'll switch because of the nav bar nav and the nav link. It'll know to put this straight up and down as opposed to left to right in a row right here. So we need to have those set up. All right, so right here, let's just kind of show you what we're doing. We have hyperlink with the nav link. We overwrote the class to text white. I'll show you real quick here. It was a little more muted than I liked, so I just decided to add the white text in there. We'll talk about this router in a second. But right now, if we want to switch page, we're going to click on this anchor tag here, which is going to go to the router link, in this case, forms, containers, or controls. So I built these pages just to kind of show this example of all the controls. We'll go to those later. So I'm going to show you the other ways that you can do this too. You can link to these in different ways. So I'll show you a way that I would not recommend. And going with everything's pretty much the same here except for the href option used here as opposed to the router link. So if we reload this and I go to forms, see we get a page reload, page reload, page reload. So don't recommend this because it just takes up a little bit more processing to reload the page all the time. I have one more way and we'll discuss this in detail. So either use a router link, or if you want to keep all your routes consistent in case you make name changes, I recommend injecting a service, and we'll discuss that. So just know this is using the click event off of the anchor tag, and it's doing pretty much the same thing you saw in router link. So that right there, that's kind of the overview of how the navbar is structured. Just remember, you need navbar. You want an expander if you have this button right here. And this button has to be set up with a collapsed ID if you want it to actually show anything when it's collapsed. Otherwise, this will be hidden if it's above this size right here, in case it's, in this particular case, it's small. And then we have our colors, and because I want to stretch it from end to end, I added row. So let's look real quickly at this router, which is a service. And this router has getters that just kind of look at the route path and tell you if it's set or not. And it changes these to font weight bold whenever they're highlighted over, as you can see. So that's just what that does, and we'll show you the code in a second. Just know this is a bool value to toggle between true or false. So now onto the click event for the router. So if we go to the router, we can look at active route service, and we can F12 into that. Here's a route service that I built. And the getters take this property in router called URL, and it checks the string. We do the same thing here, but we also want to make sure that it includes the form, just to get a better name check, includes containers or controls. That way, if we change anything here, we can change it in one place, it'll propagate throughout. And that's why I recommend injecting a service in this particular way. So the way we call these methods is we call this navigate by URL method, and we pass in the route after this. In this case, it's localhost. So, or localhost 4200. So we're basically, if we're hitting this show homes, we're taking this class, it's the same equivalent to this. Or if we're doing this, we can see we have the forms right here, containers, and controls. So this way we can control our routes from a central location. And all we need to do is create this service, which is ngc space s, and then path, in this case services, and then just name it routes and then active routes. So that's in case I want to do multiple routes for any reason. But yeah, and this is injected into the root service right here. We just have to add router, and we can do all the stuff right here very, very easily.